I guess welcome everyone to today's I think we're calling it an information session. So this is a topic that I think we've talked about for a couple years now and has its roots, I guess, drawing back to the safety groups. WSIB, I think, is an issue that not everybody thinks about every day outside of the health and safety professionals, but it's certainly something that is very important for your business, obviously from a health and safety point of view, but from a bottom line position too. So as we've moved to the new rate framework review structure, obviously things have changed. We also have new WSIB leadership. And so we're trying to understand those changes. What has continued is the role and the rollout of the Health and Safety Excellence Plan. And so I have the privilege of introducing Sue Ramsey, who's the general manager of the Hamilton Halton Construction Association. She's really been our go-to person when it comes to the Health and Safety Excellence Plan. And we know that there's already several RESCON members that have worked with Sue and her group on starting to work through the Health and Safety Excellence Plan process. So without further ado, Sue is the general manager of the Hamilton Halton Construction Association, and she serves the needs of the ICI and heavy civil construction employers in the Hamilton and Halton regions. Before joining the HHCA, Sue was part of a small team at the Council of Ontario Construction Associations, which is a provincial federation of construction associations focused on advocacy on behalf of the industry. She holds a BA in communications and a postgraduate certificate in public relations, and is a certified association executive, which I find is a very impressive credential. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Sue.
Thanks, Andrew. It sounds fancier than it is. But thanks everybody for joining us today. So the HHCA manages the regional construction group. So we're an approved provider of the WSIB's Health and Safety Excellence Program. And formerly, we were a safety group sponsor, if you're familiar. So our particular program is available specifically to members of my association, the HHCA, the Toronto Construction Association, and also to RESCON members. Our program is focused solidly on construction and related sectors. So as a former safety group sponsor, we've successfully supported construction-related employers in their efforts to improve their health and safety performance for more than 20 years. We're a full service provider. We do everything from assisting with topic selection, providing templates and samples, reviewing and making recommendations on your work, and assisting with the preparation for validation. So this information session is special in that it will not only review how the Excellence Program works, but it will also highlight some of the really exciting new incentives that the WSIB has recently announced geared specifically to employers with 1 to 99 employees. So these incentives make it easier for companies to access the program and be successful within it. So I believe we mentioned that we'll be recording the session and that will be made available to everybody afterwards. And I'll also be providing some additional information. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker from the WSIB. Roland has been involved in the health and safety field in the not-for-profit, private, and government sectors for over 30 years. He joined the WSIB in 1997 to launch the Safe Communities Incentive Program and later joined the Workwell program as an evaluator. Prior to joining the WSIB, Roland was the Operations Safety Manager for the Perth County of Education, Safety Manager for the Essex County Board of Education, and an Associate Industrial Hygienist for Clayton Environmental Consultants. He holds a biochemistry degree and health and safety and disability management designations. So please welcome Ronald, I'm going to get it wrong, Ginyard?
That's pretty good. It's actually Ginyard. That's how I pronounce it. But, you know, it's not the only variation that I've actually seen of the last name. So I was actually growing up in a neighborhood that used to call us the Guionaros. So how they got that interpretation, I have no idea, but it is what it is. So thank you for the introduction. I'm actually going to try to bring up the screen. Okay, so Okay, it says host disabled participant screening sharing. So Andrew or Ad?
Yeah, try one more time.
Okay, just give me a second here. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. So that's interesting. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, okay. There we go. We're almost there. Okay. So basically, as far as the presentation today, it's basically going to go over the details as Sue mentioned on the Health and Safety Excellence Program. And really the Excellence Program, as you know, was previously mentioned, is actually a continuation of the legacy programs. I know WorkWell was mentioned, safety groups was mentioned, and also the small business program. It was actually just a merger of all three programs into one, and two of those actually had incentives. But when you're looking at the incentive for participating in the excellence program, it's actually far significant better than it was before. So it's actually a good thing. So it's been it was launched in 2019, and I believe Andrew mentioned that it was mentioned before. So we're actually going to try to fill in the gaps as we go along. Currently in the program, there's about 2,700 members. I think the last one I saw was about 2,700 members. So it actually has grown substantially over the last few years. So as far as the discussion today, we're going to be looking at, you know, the incentive and the program details for firms that are under 100 employers as far as the rebate, and those that are higher than that as far as FTE count. So we'll basically progress through that discussion. And if you have questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to ask away, and we'll hopefully create some clarity around that. So that being said, a little bit about the housekeeping. As far as the technology, here it actually says the go-to. We should update that, but there is a question function in the Zoom platform. Please use that and ask your questions, and basically I'll answer those as we progress through the presentation today. So as was previously mentioned, I've been around in the health and safety field and, you know, the plant operations field for quite a while. And, you know, it says 30 years, and I was actually figuring out last week, it's actually 35 years now. It just progressed. And, you know, it really does explain the last time I went to one of the WSPS conferences. I'm looking around the crowd. I'm going, why is it these people just seem to be getting younger? And I'm going, maybe it's just not them. So been around a while. So as far as the presentation today, one of the things I'm going to ask you to answer a few questions, really to start to framework the nature of the conversation today, so that I could really hone in on what your needs are, and hopefully how the program really encompasses that and how can address some of those challenges. So that being said, in my experience in dealing with, how come it's not? Okay, there it is. In my experience in dealing with firms over, you know, literally the decades, there's certain, let's say, challenges or trends as far as what are the obstacles in preventing people from getting their program in place, or to really maximize the effectiveness of the program. I'm basically just asking the firms in the webinar is to really go through the list there and tell me what is generally, from what you've seen, the biggest challenge that you would have from dealing with health and safety issues. And, you know, we're in a pandemic, endemic, depends on how you want to define it. But, you know, health and safety really transcends that environment or that culture. but it really does complicate how we deal with communication and deal with the issues as far as health and safety and really protect people. So can you really give me an idea of what your top challenge that you would have from a health and safety perspective? So it gives me an idea of where you're at. So just give it 30 seconds and let's see what kind of response we get. Whoops. Do we have any responses? Okay, so let's see. Lack of time is really a big one, and I hear you. Part of lack of time is also people are really, really busy, and I find in the world that we're dealing now, and it really is an effect of what we've been going through the last few years. People have brought staff back, but sometimes they're actually leaner than what they were before, especially from an administrative perspective. So they're really trying to balance things out. And as far as lack of time in developing programs, sometimes it's knowing where to access that information. And I'm a firm believer when it comes to developing safety programs, you should never be starting things from scratch. It just takes way too much time. Everything that you may need has already been developed. So it's knowing where to access that information to really streamline the time that you'll need. Buy-in from site, equipment, PPE. Yeah, buy-in is really problematic. I think it's in its entirety. One of the things that and this is actually from my experience as a work-well auditor and dealing with the enforcement, the bottom line is employee involvement comes down to the leadership. If the leadership are not committed to dealing with what they need to and really letting people know that it's important, shortcuts will be taken. And especially in the construction industry, where a lot of members are actually working off-site, when they leave, the shop or the workplace, and they don't really know where health and safety falls, when they come across something that may or may not be safe, you may find that they actually take the shortcuts depending on the expectation they think they have. Is it the job needs to be done and no excuses, or the job needs to be done, but it needs to be done safely? And if it's not, you need to call your supervisor. So it's really making sure that culture reflects the expectations. So I think that's from the responses we have right now. So thanks for the input. It really allows me to really shape the conversation. Let me see here. So, okay. So the Health and Safety Excellence Program, as I already mentioned, was launched in 2019, really started to take root in 2020 as the pandemic hit. So it really, even with the pandemic, it still seemed to have taken off, which is a really good thing. What can the Health and Safety Excellence Program provide? It's really there to help build your safety program. There's 36 health and safety topics that you can choose from to really build on your program. And we'll go into the details of those topics really shortly. They're really structured in 3 different levels, foundation, intermediate, and advanced, depending on where you are as far as system maturity. And at the end of the day, from what Andrew was saying and Sue, in the safety group, when there was topics to be chosen, generally it was the provider that made those choices for the entire system. But now the excellence program is individually based. So it's really there to address your organizational needs. there's no point of developing topics that you know you don't have a need for, or really it's not going to address the direction that you want it to go. So choose up to 5 topics in a year. But now, if you're under 99 employees, there's some variation there that you could choose more. You implement the topics that, again, best suit your business. So what I basically tell employers there is look at your trends, look at your injuries in the last while, look at your program. If you've done an internal audit or some type of assessment, make sure that the topics you choose are able to address that. I don't want to see people, have a continuous improvement plan for health and safety, then they turn around and they choose another 5 topics just for the excellence program. It should be merging together in the same direction, so that whatever activities you're actually doing, that they're in line with what your organizational needs are. And when I look at this, here are let's say the topics that are available to employers. And if you're in construction, a lot of you have safety programs in place, but you want to make sure that your programs are effective. So if in your continuous improvement plan, you've identified that there are gaps in your health and safety responsibilities, and that's being updated, that's one of your topics. Risk assessment, control of hazards. One of the things about control of hazards topic, that one there can actually repeat itself over and over. And I'll give you an example. In your risk assessment, you have found that fall arrest needs to be addressed. So really, you develop a falls procedure. So really, that's your control of hazards. The topic is falls. Control of hazards, COVID. Control of hazards, dealing with forklifts or whatever it may be. So it all depends it has to be a hazard, and basically that topic can repeat itself over and over. As you move along the pendulum from left to right, as far as foundation, intermediate, and advanced, there is nothing in the program that says you have to do foundation first before you can do intermediate, before you can do advanced. You pick the topics in either level that makes sense for you. So you do not have to choose foundation first, then intermediate, and advanced. Go to the smorgasbord of the topics that are available and develop with the provider. So, have your conversation with Sue and say, okay, what makes sense for us to address in the upcoming year? Core certified employers. So basically, you're in the construction sector, you're pursuing core, or you're core certified. This is actually a slide that identifies the topics that are available for either core registered, core certified, or 2020 certified. So, and you'll see as you move along from left to right, the number of topics available as your program has matured really starts to become more and more narrow. And I would expect, as firms are 2020 certified, the control of hazards would repeat itself more often. So, and Sue and Andrew, if there's anything you want to add throughout the presentation, please feel free to do so. So, Health and Safety Excellence Program, the program that rewards you for making your place safer. Really, that's what it's all about. It's hopefully taking you from where you are now and just really getting to the point that your program is a lot more mature, and that the risk that you have is really mitigated, and hopefully really leading to decreased WSIB cost, decreased absenteeism, and the list goes on and on. Each topic that you develop and implement is eligible for a rebate. The size of the rebate is based on your premiums that you paid in the previous year. So basically, if you join now, we would look at your premiums that you paid in 2021, and then basically look at that and go, okay, based on the size of the premiums, we'll look at the other criteria very shortly. But for firms that are in the program now, that choose to join, the minimum per topic rebate is $1,000 per topic. And let's say you pay 10,000 premiums or 4,552, you're actually able to offset the entire cost of your premiums if you choose 5 topics. The maximum rebate based on your size is 50,000. For firms that have 1 to 99 employees, there's double rebate up until the end of 2022. So this year, you have to have a plan in place and the topics have to be implemented by the end of the year. That being said, there's current discussion going on as far as 2023 and what that may entail. Don't know what that is right now, but it's in discussion. So that double rebate for firms from 1 to 99 employees is in place till the end of the year. It has to be done. The topic has to be implemented. So what I would recommend to firms is choose a topic that makes sense, that it's fairly easy to implement, or choose a topic that you already have you're already working on, and just make sure you get it done by the end of the year. The program delivered by authorized providers, and basically Sue and the Hamilton Halton Construction Association is one of the providers. And definitely their focus is on dealing with construction firms. So they're really experts in that field. So the location service, so basically you choose a provider that makes sense, and the ones that are sponsoring the session are definitely competent and capable and fully willing to assist any firm within the webinar to really develop their program and to really move them along that path. So in addition, part of the Excellence program has member badges. These member badges are posted on the WSIB Safety Check website. And for those of you who are not aware of Safety Check, it's a WSIB website that actually publishes all the employers within Ontario. And it really publishes all their lost time injury rates, their medical A rates. So someone can actually check the status of your safety program within your firm. And you could also check the status, compare yourself to light type businesses. And it's not the only thing that it's used for in today's environment. I've been told by some people that when their teenager is looking for jobs, the parent are online looking at whether or not this employer is a safe employer. So it's really there to add to your credibility that health and safety is part of the way you do business. And some firms are actually using this in their marketing. I was looking at one firm last week that had their 9001 certification, and then they had their member badge underneath their heading, which was actually really neat to actually see as firms are advertising that information. So one of the things that COVID has done is actually brought health and safety to the forefront. That health and safety is definitely not only on the mind of employers and employees, it's really on the mind of customers and customer bases and who's dealing with you. They want to be in an environment that they feel safe. So putting that out there, that as far as branding, that safety is part of your firm, really helps to build your credibility. So topics to be developed. I'm not going to go into this too much because I'm assuming a lot of safety firms, as far as the development and implementation of your topic, It's really plan, do, check, act. Plan, figure out what you need to do it. Develop your procedures, implement your procedures, do your training, check, make sure that it's actually working, and act. And if it's not working, make your adjustments. If it is working, well, you know what? Acknowledge the success. The topic may take up to 12 months, and please work with your provider to, if you're eligible for the double rebate, to actually get that in before the end of the year and take advantage of the rebate. So let's go into the rebate in general. I've already gone through this slide. I'm not going to go through it again. But one of the things I want to go through, and this is the compass. If you're not aware of what compass is really the WSIB e-service. It's the e-service website. Compass is embedded within e-service. So you have to register for that. And it really gives you all the information on your claims, your injury history. It gives you the ability to submit your Form 7s, do your remittances online. So if you haven't signed up to e-service, I would recommend that you actually do it. It doesn't really take that long. It takes a few minutes. But the stats that are actually encompassed within the e-service, they actually go through the injury stats for the last 6 years. And that is important when you actually develop your action plan and are able to get a grasp of all the injuries that you've had over the last 6 years to really know what you need to focus in on. But as far as the rebate, one of the things you'll see this firm premium paid, that there's a box there, premium paid, you know, here they say 0 because obviously they haven't been active, but it that's where it would identify what your premiums were. And it would actually, if you would hit where it says premiums, it would identify all the previous years on what you actually paid in premiums also. But there's also the factor of predictability. Predictability is the ability for the firm to influence their premium base, like their general premium. So the larger the firm, the greater their predictability. So the more their ability to actually influence what their premiums are. So a smaller firm, their predictability may be 10%. So even though they have injuries and they would have a lot of them, their ability to influence their premiums in a positive or negative way would be a lot more limited than a larger employer. So predictability is an important factor, and it plays a role in the level of rebate. The rebate calculation for firms in general, if your predictability is greater than 20%, i.e. a mid to larger firm, the rebate is 1.4% per topic times the prior year premiums times the number of topics they've actually done. Or if they're smaller or sometimes mid, and their predictability is 20% or less, it's 2% per topic. So if they do 5 topics and their premiums are, you know, substantial for the year before, that adds up to quite a bit. And here they give 2 examples. Example A, firm pays $100,000 in premiums. And, you know, in the construction sector, that's not really that unrealistic. Here they have a predictability of 20% or less. They did 5 topics. They're eligible for a rebate of $10,000. But here they give example B. This is a really smaller firm. They pay $7,000 in premiums, 2% times 5. That they're eligible for a rebate of $700. But then there's the minimum amount, which makes it $1,000 per topic. And prior to the end of the year, the numbers work out differently. But right now for firms, let's say in the normal environment, that's what they would be eligible for, up to 75% of their annual premiums. However, with the double rebate, and here they give an example. Employer paid $20,000 in premiums last year. They completed 3 topics: health and safety communication, injury, illness, and incident reporting, and control of hazards. The normal rebate, if you did here, you would have to 2% of 20,000 is $400. So the minimum would apply. So that would be $1,000 per topic. They do 3 topics. They'd be eligible for a $3,000 rebate in a normal year. But if the topic is done by the end of 2022, that rebate is not $3,000, it's $6,000. But also as an added incentive in there, the WSIB is willing to pay $1,000 towards the provider fee. So the total support, as far as they pay $20,000 in premiums, the actual rebate would be $7,000. So that is really substantial for an employer. It really doesn't matter what sector. Here it says 4,000, and the rebate 2% of $4,080, but there's the minimum. Before it was up to 75% of the annual premiums, but here it's 100%. So they choose 2 topics, $1,000 each, $2,000 in a regular year. So this firm, when it's doubled, they paid $4,000 in premiums, and they're eligible for a rebate of $4,000 plus the $1,000 provider fee. So it's like, well, that doesn't really make sense. It's like they're getting all their money back. And the answer is yes. The board wants, especially smaller employers, to get in the health and safety culture. It's like, maybe this is the jumpstart that they need to get them involved. So, and here, a larger firm, they're 90,000 in premiums. They chose 4 topics. The regular premium, if, in any given year, and let's assume this is 80 employees, so they're eligible for the double rebate. 4 topics, $1,800 per topic, and then basically for the 4 topics, $7,200. Doubled the rebate, it'd be $14,400, and then the $1,000 for the provider. So out of the $90,000 in premiums, they're eligible for a rebate of $15,400. But let's say this same employer, and there are probably people in the group today, that this was 130 employees, same amount of premiums. The double rebate does not apply to those firms. So they'd still be eligible for a rebate of 2% for each topic. So basically 8%, which adds up to $1,800 for the 4 topics is $7,200. That's still quite a bit of money. In the legacy safety group program, the average rebate was about 3 to 4%. Even if you're in the excellence program and you're getting 1.4 to 2% per topic, it's 7 to 10% of your premiums, which is almost double what you would have been able to get within the safety group program. So really overall, the incentive is considerably more than it historically has been. Framing contractor, this is really overkill now. So, okay. So why is workplace health and safety important? I think as far as why firms should join, it works. 90% of firms reported that are involved in the excellence program reported improvements in their health and safety culture. And ultimately, if one of the concerns is getting employees involved, it really comes down to the culture. If the culture is not such that health and safety is viewed as important, it's not going to be important. So that improvement in health and safety culture really moves the pendulum along, especially in construction, that if they're working offsite, they're going to know that in this equation of getting things done, they need to do it safely. And the reality is, it's one of the consultants. It was used to be with the Construction Safety Association of Ontario, a guy named Harry DeJong. I remember him making a statement that said, the art of doing something safely is the art of doing it right. And he couldn't have been more right. The financial rewards, as far as the excellence program, as far as joining, that they're significant. And whether or not you're eligible for the double rebate or not, even the regular rebate is still substantial. 82% of job seekers want to know your record, and that information is out there. Industry standards, the excellence program aligns with the core and the ISO. And one of the things that actually is not there, the SOCI program, the Supporting Ontario Safe Employers program that's available through the Ministry of Labor Training and Skills Development, that's also another incentive program. As your program has matured over the years, that's available, and there's another incentive there. But that program is about recognition also, and strong return on investment. If you're not getting those injuries, it's not just about the rebate. It's about your regular WSIB premiums are positively affected on minimizing your costs. So, instead of dealing with a 10, 20, 30, 40% surcharge, that's really problematic, especially when you're trying to tender and trying to figure out what your cost and to really be competitive. And the return on investment, the training of new staff, people not to be available to get contracts done, all really has an impact. And the Institute of Work and Health really did a study, and they said for every dollar spent on health and safety, the return is between $1.24 and $2.14 for every dollar that you spend. So, and I've always, and as a safety professional, I always try to build it in your safety system that it's just not about the money. It's just not about the legislation. It's about making sure people don't get hurt, and that at the end of the day, they go home the same way that they came in. And being an employee with WSIB and working in enforcement in health and safety, you get to see a lot of the histories and the nature of the injuries and the impacts of the injuries. And for those of you who have experienced that, safety is only a word until it happens to you. It is really not an environment that you want to wait for. It's better to be proactive. So one of the things that I like, it was actually a small employer that made the statement. I really liked it. So far from joining to now, we don't have any safety issue claims. Normally per year, we've had at least 4 claims, but we have no claims in the last 10 months. So they joined the excellence program, and what they have found was they chose the right topics, which really is a critical factor. And they found that since they joined, several months ago, they haven't seen any claims. And really, to me, that is the ultimate success. It's great to have the rebate, but having people not being injured is really the goal that you want to see. So to me, from the humanistic point of view, that's really what it's all about. So summary, as far as the journey, choose a provider. I think here it's easy. Hamilton Halton Construction Association. Select a topic that makes sense. One of the things that I'm telling firms that if you're looking at the double rebate, given the time frame of implementation, choose a topic that's relatively easy to implement. And here I give the example of first aid. It's easy to get the first aid procedure implemented in relatively short months. It's easy to get health and safety responsibilities implemented in relatively short order. And there's probably control of hazard ones that are fairly easy. Your provider in the discussion with them may be able to identify procedures that you've been working on for the last year that are not finalized, that could be part of your topic selection for the double rebate. So really work with your provider to really help to capitalize on that double rebate if you're eligible for that. You know, once you chose, develop the procedure, implement the procedure, and evaluate it, and submit topics for evaluation. And again, the journey must be complete by December 31st to be eligible for the double rebate. So if you have questions, please feel free to contact me. My email is embedded in the presentation. My phone number is embedded in the presentation, and that will be shared with you. So please feel free to reach out to myself or Sue at the Hamilton Halton Construction Association. So that being said, I'm done today, providing that there is no questions. Are there questions that need to be answered?
One question that I always get is in residential construction, because we're not doing public construction, there's not necessarily the same core requirements. We, essentially will build for ourselves or for private financial institution or investment groups. So there's not the same requirement or drive for core.
Sure.
And I know core is only one part of the accreditation process. But can you do, and I know the answer, but I'd love your thoughts on it. Can you do the health and safety excellence plan without, 100% committing to accreditation? Although, I know that it's designed to get you there, right? But
yeah,
I think people always question that topic.
Yeah, no, great question. The answer is no. There's no expectation that you pursue core. It's really, if it's within your organizational plan, pursue it. If it's not, there's no requirement. It's really a topic specific plan. If you choose to do this topic, it's really up to your organization to really determine what your direction is. It's really employer focused on what they want to achieve. And it's not uncommon for a firm to start from almost, as far as program maturity, at the very bottom. It's not realistic that core or SOCI is in their immediate future. They got to look at what is manageable for them and what makes sense.
Also, another question, is this program available to sub-trades or is it just builder specific?
No, it's available to sub-trades. It's available to all employers that are insured within WSIB.
Okay. So it doesn't look like we have any other questions. So do you have a question?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, we always talk about construction because that's our industry, but this program is actually across industries. There's lots of other providers that offer services for all sorts of industries, but ours is just specifically directed at construction because that's what we do.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Roland, for that. It's a great program. We highly recommend it for everybody. And as Sue mentioned at the beginning, RESCON does have a specific rate with HHCA. I believe RESCON members pay around $9.95 to join the program, and everybody else pays around $2,000. So it's definitely a great deal to be working with Sue. We will be giving out the recording, and we'll be sharing Sue's information and Roland's information if you have any other questions. We highly recommend this program. In RESCON, we've been champions of health and safety for as long as I can remember and really care about this. So again, highly recommend it. And thank you everybody for attending today.